All right, good morning, traders. Today is October 23rd, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Thank you so much. Everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land, appreciate that. Thank you for following me, subscribing to me, and liking my content, hearting my content, sharing my content. Special shout out Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted for help sharing the content out there for the rest of the world. I appreciate that, helping get the good word out there. All right, let's take a look at what happened yesterday. See what we traded yesterday. Nice 10-minute downtrend yesterday. Before we get started, let me talk about an open house or a Road to Wealth workshop. Happens Tuesday, October 28th from 8:45 to 4:15, and you can use this right here, this QR code. You scan this with your smartphone, it opens up a pop-up. You press the pop-up and it opens up a browser page, and you just fill out the registration form, and we will email you your credentials to get into the room on Tuesday. All right. If you do not see it, check your spam folder. All right. So hit and run candlesticks. Rick Sadler is going to be presenting a lot of charts. All right. A lot of charts. Look, he's got a full schedule. He's going to get you ready for trading. He's going to update and manage his Road to Wealth account, 3-Ace Trap workshop, Rounded Bottom Breakout workshop. Going to take a break. Pinball and Modified Pinball workshop. More charts and questions. Take another break and probably wrap up the day. Big day, all right, on the 28th. Take a look at it. It's free. It's no charge. All you got to do is register. There's the QR code. Scan that with your smartphone, and that will get you in there if you fill out the link and register. All right, let's talk about right here. All right, so my SPY pivot today. All right, this morning, 668.40. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Diamond Dow did not make a new high. Okay, that's not supposed to be there. SPY and Diamond Dow made lower lows and lower highs, closing inside bullish traps over their 17 EMAs. IWM and FNGU made lower highs and lower lows, closing under their traps under their 17 EMAs. QQQ made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bullish trap, but over the 17 EMA. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a 10-minute uptrend. Gold made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. Silver made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish cross and under the 17. USO in a daily downtrend. I think that thing popped today. I don't know where USO is trading, but I saw it pop way up today. USO in a daily downtrend made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA. UNG in a daily downtrend made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. US dollar index remains in an uptrend and closed near the 99.03 area. SPY max pain 667 with a put to call ratio of about 1.5 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15, and security options expire at 4. All right, let's take a peek at the market today. Okay, so here's yesterday's candle. Lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap, but over the rising 17. On the daily chart, we're still in an uptrend. You see, we are still bullish and still in an uptrend on the daily. On the weekly, still in an uptrend. On the monthly, still bullish and still in an uptrend. Okay, so weekly, monthly, daily, still in uptrends. 2 hour, we have a downtrend. 10-minute chart, came in with an uptrend. I will be looking for a continuation of the uptrend this morning. Okay, I'll be looking for nice green candle. All right, no dojis, no spinning tops, no candles with more wick than body and tail combined, something like that. Don't want that. Okay, don't want any red candles because they'll show me bearish control. I'm looking for an uptrend. I want to see bullish control, and I want to see price rising up over this VWAP. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Okay, that's my plan to trade this morning. Other than that, I'm going to mark off the bottom and the top of the pre-market. And let's take a look at the pre-market. So we're going to mark off the bottom and the top. Okay, and look for a range breakout. Okay, range breakout of the bottom and the top. If they break below this base right here, actually looking more like a continuation of a 10-minute downtrend, if you ask me. That looks like it's going to be a continuation of a 10-minute downtrend. All right, going to box off the first 15 minutes and trade the breakout there. I guess cancel the uptrend. We'll see. We still got an hour and a half before we open up. They could change this. All right, we'll see what happens. There's SPY. On the game plan. All right. Don't know how that got on. Oh, I know how that got on there. All right, for the game plan this morning, we've got. Let's go to the 15-minute chart. Let's pick up this one on the 15 here. All right, for the game plan, got green erases red over 673.05. Pivot 666.40. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Got red erases green underneath 663.70 right here. Okay, I like 1 day and 8 day till Friday options. Okay, 1 day till expiration and 8 days till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5, specifically for the liquidity. Okay, I trade strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I trade 10 minutes downtrends under VWAP. If a 10-minute uptrend were to develop down here in the red zone, or in here in the caution zone, or just under the green zone, okay, I will be willing to trade it. It needs to break the bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. Okay, if a 10-minute downtrend were to develop up here over the green zone, in the caution zone, or in the red zone right here, I would be interested in trading it if it breaks the 10-minute bearish rubber band candle. Okay, so I don't have to wait for red erases green in order for me to trade 10-minute downtrend. I don't have to wait for green erases red entry up here for me to trade 10-minute uptrend. My favorite chart, my favorite setup is 10-minute uptrend in this market currently. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, that resides inside 2-hour uptrend. That resides inside the daily uptrend. That resides inside the weekly uptrend. That resides inside the monthly uptrend over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That is the best setup in my opinion. That right there is the best setup. I will be looking for that. I think it will be difficult to find since the 2-hour is still in a downtrend. We'll see if they can spin that around before closing time. All right, but that's my favorite trade. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP with all of those bigger time frames supporting my 10-minute uptrend. Okay, that's my favorite trade. QQQ's got a game plan as well. Let's take a look at it. QQQ, all right, green erases red over 612.90. Pivot 605.80. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green underneath 630. Okay, I like or I trade. Okay, 1 day till expiration, 8 day till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5 specifically for the increased open interest, the higher liquidity. I like strikes that are $2 to $15 out of the money. I like them that way because I like them cheap and they're easier to accumulate. All right, I don't like trading. I don't like trading stocks or contracts that are up over $1.50. All right, they chew up a lot of my buying power. All right, so I don't trade many of those. I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, just like SPY. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, and the same thing applies here on QQQ. All right, if I have a 10-minute downtrend that happens to manifest, originate, created right here in the green zone, okay, up here, all right, or in the yellow zone, right in here, or in the red zone, I am not opposed to trading it if it's a 10-minute downtrend long before it gets to the red erases green entry. Again, as long as it breaks that 10-minute bearish rubber band candle. Okay, so that's what I'm interested in. QQQ. Same thing with the uptrends. If they happen to manifest here, or here, long before they get to the green erases red, I'm not opposed to trading 10-minute uptrends. I just want to see them break the 10-minute bullish rubber band candle up there. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. We'll look at it on the 10-minute chart, the 2-hour chart, and the 15-minute chart. All right, on the 10-minute chart, 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. On the 2-hour chart, 2-hour downtrend coming into the close, but closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's important. On the daily chart, still in an uptrend. On the weekly chart, still in an uptrend. On the monthly chart, still in an uptrend right there. Back to the daily, lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap over the rising 17 or the flat 17 EMA right there. Let's take a look at this. Price action, you can see, is bullish, top of quadrant 4, and still in an uptrend on QQQ. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow got a lower high, lower low, closing in a bullish trap over the 17 EMA, top of quadrant 4, that is still bullish, still in an uptrend. IWM, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, now in a downtrend. See, we have a low valley here, not many candles, that poke below the 17. We made a lower low, puts IWM in a downtrend. Okay, so price action, you can see, is still up here in the middle of quadrant 4. That's bullish, but currently in a downtrend, starting a downtrend right now. There's IWM. Let's take a look at FNGU. Price action is a lower high and a lower low. Everybody got a lower high and a lower low. Closing below bullish trap and under the 17 EMA. Up here in the middle of quadrant 4, still holding that bull flag. Okay, see how price moves up and then moves over to the right. And then we got an even shorter flagpole, goes up and over to the right. Still holding the higher ground, okay? That's bullish environment. So you can see everyone's still up here in quadrant 4. Nobody's really given up their position, all right? Some have shown some cracks. But all in all, the market is bullish, okay? So, you know, when we go counter trend, all right, let's make sure we got a dedicated downtrend on the 10-minute. For me, all right, being since everything is still bullish, all right? We are seeing some cracks, all right, but everything's still bullish. Back to QQQ. Still bullish and still in an uptrend. Something to make a note of, 1-2 days here. You got daylight between the all-time high and the highs. It's a shame they really couldn't dig out a new all-time high being As you can see, the daylight between the wicks up here, pennies from setting a new all-time high. All right, so I don't know what that means, but it sure shows me that they didn't have enough juice to get it done. That's what it tells me right there on QQQ. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold. All right, gold, yesterday's candle, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. I'm looking for a buy box right here, right along 350, 363. Got a buy box. I'd like to buy in there if I can get it. If I can get it down that low or opportunity arises, I would be willing to buy it right in there. So there's gold on the daily chart. Nothing's broken, all right? So we're just having a pullback in an uptrend, okay? It's common that they have to pull back, get some more spinach, eat some more red meat, find some mustard, you know, to get up there and make new highs, okay? So it's a pullback in an uptrend. So that's still bullish and still in an uptrend, just not moving up these last 2 days. Silver. Silver, yesterday's candle is a lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. Again, top of quadrant 4. Okay, that's bullish. Well, in the middle of quadrant 4. Let me rephrase that. Middle of quadrant 4. Okay, nothing's broken. And still in a daily uptrend. Okay, it's just not over the 17, but nothing's broken. There's nothing that puts them in a downtrend right now. So there's silver on the daily chart. Still bullish up here. Okay, just pulling back right now. All right, let's take a look at USO. Okay, USO kind of flying high all the way up here at the midpoint. Nice bounce out of the bearish territory down here. Yesterday's candle, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross and over a falling 17 EMA. No longer bearish, okay, but still in an uptrend. Excuse me, but still in a downtrend, all right? If they take out this high, they will negate the downtrend and convert the uptrend. Okay, currently in a downtrend that's not moving down, all right, and no longer in the bearish territory, back to neutral. Okay, so neutral and in a downtrend that's not moving down. There's USO. Still not ready for me yet. Still not ready. Might not be ready for a while. UNG. UNG, yesterday's candle, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over a wavy 17 here. Still in a downtrend, just not moving down. All right, just take out this high right here, and they will negate the downtrend status and convert this to an uptrend. But right now, we're still in a downtrend, just like USO, that is not moving down, okay? It is a pullback in the downtrend. Again, bottom of quadrant 1 or middle of quadrant 1, that is bearish and still in a downtrend that's not moving down. There's UNG. All right, let's take a look at our technicals. Slide on over here to T2101. Here's our market breadth. All right, yesterday, market breadth getting weaker. All right, so less and less participation. All right, as price dropped, you would have thought maybe some more market breadth, but as price dipped yesterday, we got less participation and market breadth. That would be the win in the sales. That would be the momentum of the move. So on the move down, we lost more momentum, okay? On the move up, we lost momentum, and on the move down, we lost momentum. Go figure, all right? We'll see what happens. That's T2101 on the 15-minute chart. All right. Bits of confusing data here. T2122. All right. I would have thought we would have been with this wind up here in the buy zone. Notice the following day after the wind up, we just spent the day in the buyer's chop zone. Not very impressive. Okay. Now after spending the day after the wind up in the buyer's chop zone, kind of thought we would spend yesterday in the buy zone or near the overbought zone. Again, not impressive. Making lower highs, lower lows and lower highs and lower lows. Finishing the day in the buyer's chop zone. Again, right here at the midpoint. Again, not impressive, all right? Not for the bulls anyways. The bears are doing well, holding them off, all right? T2123 15-minute chart. And what do we got here? We've got, we're back in a downtrend because we got a low here. And we made a lower low. And we've got a lower high and a lower low. So 15-minute back in a downtrend. Good news is we closed on top of the hooking 200 SMA right there. I don't know if we can call that you can call that a valley. So making a higher high right here. So they go back and forth underneath this and over this 17 EMA. I'm going to have to revise my answer. They are now in an uptrend. I see a high here. They made a higher high. All right, so the last thing that they did was make this higher high. So they're in an uptrend on T2123 15-minute chart, and they did hold the ground up here over the 200 SMA. Okay, so all in all, not a very robust rally, but I'm going to say if you go way back to the beginning of the bounce, it looked a lot like this as well. Okay, I got to say we're getting a lot of consolidation under prior consolidation. Okay, that's not a good look for the bulls. All right, because you can see this consolidation right here, and we got more consolidation underneath it. Okay, they are rising up recently and providing some consolidation over prior consolidation, but nothing really impressive yet. T2123. They did manage to sneak on top of the falling 200 SMA. That's good. But from the perspective of the pullback from the high to the pullback low, we're still down here in quadrant 1 right there. So that's bearish. And if we look at this bounce, all right, it's kind of flat, and it certainly does not look like this. Okay, see the trajectory or the pitch of this roof line or this angle of trajectory up here. Okay, this flat does not look like this right here. Okay, so obviously not that inclined to get back up here and produce some higher highs. Not yet. Okay, and who knows? Maybe they're waiting on economic data that's being held up in the shutdown. That's a possibility. All right, that could be. They're just not interested in owning stocks until, or they'd rather be in cash until we get some economic data and the shutdown is wrapped up and, you know, things start getting funded so people can spend money. All right, T2123. That would make sense to me. We'll see what happens. All right, T2123 again, quadrant 1, not looking good right there. T2123 3-bar chart. Okay, you can see from the valley low, and then we made new all-time highs right here. Okay, so actually up here, this is bullish. All right, but from the perspective of the pullback low, we're still in quadrant 1, both the 15 and the 30 3-bar chart. Still down here, quadrant 1. So that puts us in kind of neutral bullish, because we're still showing not very big, not many signs of bullishness. All right, over since this day right here, the 13th, 14, 15, 16, all the way up to 23rd. Of course, we had a weekend in there. Okay, so still down in quadrant 1. 3-bar chart. Okay, here's a low. They made a lower low. They're still in a downtrend and still in quadrant 1. And we find ourselves under the rising or the flat 200 SMA and under the 17 EMA. Okay, so not ready yet, obviously, to make a bounce, or not ready to start climbing out of the hole they fell in. So there's T2123 3-bar. From the perspective of the valley low to the all-time high, okay, we're still in quadrant 4. That's bullish, but because of, the pullback high being in quadrant 1 down here, I'm going to say neutral bullish right there for T2123. Let's take a look at FNGU. I had so much hope and desire for FNGU up here, consolidating over prior consolidation. And you can see they went up and they couldn't even hold for, 6 days or 4 days, 2 days, and they gave it up. All right. So again, we're getting signs of cracking going on. All right. We've got FNGU going up and giving it up here and here. You see QQQ unable to make the new all-time high, coming within pennies. Okay, so are the bears that strong that they can hold the bulls off for those final 3-5 cents? That's often been a clue whenever I see price gap up and the bears fail to fill the gap by a penny. They leave a penny open. I've seen the bulls rally it back and just rip into some new highs. So that's interesting, seeing that the QQQ couldn't make new all-time highs. Is there a possibility that the bears are going to make some new lows, showing their strength by holding off the bulls from making new highs? So here we are with FNGU. We had a bullish gap up. It was open for a while, that bullish gap up, for 2 days. And then the bears came back yesterday and they filled it. All right. So at first I was ready to give the bulls some points. Now I got to take them off the board. Okay. Because bears filled the gap. Now we've got a bearish gap that's not filled by the bulls. Okay. So kudos to the bears. All right. Because they got a bearish gap that's not filled by the bulls, and that's showing me weakness on the bulls' part. They let the whole day pass by without filling it. FNGU 15-minute chart left off. All right, we're in a downtrend. We didn't make a higher high. Still in a downtrend here. They would have to take out that high in order to make a downtrend. In the pre-market, what do we got going on? You can see price action is under VWAP, looking like a continuation of whatever this downtrend here was under VWAP. Looking like a continuation is developing to take us down even further. All right. FNGU, if I roll way out, still in this bull flag up here. Okay, but we're seeing signs of cracking. We've got a 1 top, 2 top, triple top. Sometimes after triple top, technology sometime will give up, all right, and start heading south so that they can pick up some red meat, some mustard, some spinach, get some iron, pump some iron, whatever it takes to build up some strength to run back up there and make new all-time highs. So there's FNGU, all right, so seeing signs of cracking going on. 1, 2, triple top up there. And we're losing the consolidation over prior consolidation. Okay, so yet they gave it up again, so I'm not liking that. It's showing me the bullish rally could be coming to an end. We'll see what happens. Unless they can get back up there and kind of hold that higher ground. All right, let's take a look at the economic numbers. And where am I going to find those? Right here. SPY Max Pain 667 above it. Excuse me. SPY Max Pain 667. Put the call ratio about 1.5 put for each call. All right, so about 1.5 puts for each call, and that's just for the options that expire today. So not much of a put squeeze on the table right there. Okay, in SPY Max Pain is 667. I think we're kind of hanging out right there, anyways. All right, let's take a look at the dollar. Dollar still in uptrend. Dollar closed near 99.03 right here yesterday. So dollar still in an uptrend, but yet still in a bear flag that's moving over. So we got a little bullish uptrend and a big bear flag currently still. All right, on the U.S. dollar. Let's take a look at economic numbers. All right, for today, all right, we're supposed to get, you can already see it's delayed. All right, jobless claims, 8:30, and I see like a void through it. So I guess they didn't, I don't know if they reported them or not. Usually Alan posts it, so I don't see anything. So I'm going to bet those were delayed or not done. Jobless claims, all right? We've got Chicago Fed National Activity Index. That was delayed due to the economic shutdown. Existing home sales supposed to come out at 10. We'll see if they're going to give us one of those. Natural gas report. I doubt they would blow that one off. Energy's kind of important. I would think that they would at least provide that one. We'll see what happens. CPI scheduled for Friday the 24th at 8:30. Already saying it's delayed, so maybe next week. PMI composite flash 9:45 on Friday. New home sales 10 o'clock on Friday. Didn't we have something? Oh, this is existing home sales at 10 o'clock today. New home sales tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Consumer sentiment also at 10, and a rig count at 1 o'clock. Okay, you know, the bulls with no economic data had a really good opportunity to rip for some new highs. There's no economic data to squash what's going on, but notice they didn't have any they didn't have enough juice or enough spinach to get the job done. So not looking too good for the bulls. Again, another sign of cracks. All right, let's take a look at earnings. Well, last night Tesla, I think Tesla missed last night. That's $1.5 trillion. Okay, Netflix missed also, and they got really hurt and hammered. Okay, that was a big one, almost $500 billion. Netflix was $1.5 trillion. Today, who do we got on deck for today? This morning we're going to get T-Mobile. We're going to get Intel tonight. We're going to get Union Pacific. That's railways and shipping. That's coming out this morning. Honeywell. That's a little bit of technology there. They make home goods, thermostats, all kinds of electronics that go in your home or to build your home. Blackstone's going to report today in the morning. Newmont is going to report this evening, okay? So I think Newmont's mining. I think that's the mining one. Blackstone is investments. That's $119 billion there. Honeywell, we already talked about them, electronics and home goods, $132 billion. Union Pacific, $134 billion. Intel, $166 billion. I can't wait to see Intel. $257 billion on T-Mobile. That's communications right there. And that's scheduled all for today and tonight. Intel tonight and Newmont Mining tonight. All right, for Friday, that's tomorrow. Procter & Gamble, $355 billion. Sanofi Advantis, $121 billion. HCA Healthcare, $101 billion. All three in the morning. All right, and General Dynamics, which would be National Defense Contractor. All right, $91 billion. Okay, so everybody in the morning that's possibly big headliners. None of these are going to really move the markets. They will definitely, have some influence on their sectors. It's the ones like Tesla that have the ability to move the markets. Netflix a little bit too. All right, anything up over half a trillion dollars is capable of moving the markets. Or if it's AI, it has the ability to also influence the markets. There, we've got some AI companies that are rapidly gaining market capitalization due to their growth. So that's not something we need to keep an eye on. All right, so we did the earnings, we did the economic calendar, we did the Max Payne, we did the dollar. All right, and I'm going to take a look at the markets one more time, and because we want to see how we want to trade them. And let's take out this one. All right, and let's take out a 10-minute chart, and let's pull up the SPY and the QQQ. All right, in the pre-market, we've got, we broke this range right here. All right, with a 10-minute downtrend. We could not hold the higher ground over the consolidation here. That's a sign of cracking. I said I was going to look for a 10-minute uptrend right here. Based on pre-market activity, I'm going to look for a 10-minute downtrend unless I see an exhaustion candle. 10-minute downtrend coming into the open. So a continuation of this 10-minute downtrend. Unless, of course, the bulls recover and bring it back up over the pivot or up over VWAP here. All right, but that's my plan, is to look for a red candle and a continuation of this 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, a continuation of that. So maybe come down here and test the lows one more time. That's the plan for SPY and QQQ. I'm noticing they couldn't hold the higher ground up here again with the consolidation. That was bull flag consolidation. They couldn't hold the higher ground up here. So now we got a 10-minute downtrend. So I'm going to trade the 10-minute downtrend. Notice they're right here on the all-time high anchored VWAP. We'll see. Maybe they give us a V bottom before the open. We'll find out in about 45 minutes. All right. So continuation of the 10-minute downtrend on both SPY and QQQ. That's happening in the pre-market. That's my plan. All right. Unless, of course, they bounce off of this all-time high anchored VWAP and find themselves back up here leaning on the pivot. You're showing you a bearish head and shoulders right now. I would look for the right arm to extend down to where the left arm left off. Okay? In other words, a visit down to these lows where the green erases red. And then if they get underneath here and they hold, further down after that. QQQ and SPY. All right. Sound is weird. I'm going to refresh just in case it's me. All right. It's over, but I'll refresh before we start the morning video where we record the daily open. All right. So I'll refresh right now. All right, traders. I'll see you all in 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and we'll open up the markets.